Say hi to spring's most amazing style steal at Old Navy. One day only, tomorrow, women's tanks are just $2. And don't forget to come in now to redeem your super cash. Hurry in. High fashion, Old Navy. Valid 4/29, limit 5 per customer. Select styles in stores only.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good morning. It's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter. It's Monday morning, and that means no BS job search advice. I'm going to talk with you about a couple of different things today, but I want to remind you that my focus is helping you overcome the things that you may be doing that interfere with you getting the jobs that you want. We can't control the economy. We can't control what an employer does. We can basically do things that allow us to present ourselves in the best way possible. And that's where this show and my e-zine come in. And I speak from the perspective of having spoken to hundreds of thousands of people in my career, coached many of them into finding work, and I don't want to make it seem like I've found work for hundreds of thousands of people because I haven't, but certainly tens of thousands I have, and coached many more beyond that. So my goal is taking that experience and helping you overcome some of the things that you do that stand in your way of getting the job that you want. So I'm going to start with one thing from the employer perspective, and that's some of the hypocrisy that you may run into. And I was reminded of that with the passing of Steve Jobs. Now, Steve was a brilliant guy, but Steve was also very difficult. If you look at it from an employer's perspective and the ads that you see run, he was a CEO without a degree. His company was tiny and also ran for many years. For years, he was considered obnoxious and definitely not the team player that every company says they want in almost every ad that's run. He got fired by his employer after releasing 2 products that failed dismally. He was a niche player buried by a large competitor for the longest time. Plus, he annoyed people for years. Then he goes out and starts another company that could be best described as odd. And do you think he'd ever have completed an online application? I don't think so. But, we can go on and talk about, the various things that, Steve did right, which was extraordinary in his success in the later phase of his life. But I just go on. I mention this to point out to you some of the things that institutionally are done to mediocritize the process of hiring, and thus how important it is for you to transcend those limitations and stand out in a positive way. And that's why your preparation is so important. So my show today is really going to be talking about second interviews and the things that you can do to optimize your possible success on second interviews. Because I realize second interviews are a subject I haven't covered all that much, either in my e-zine or in my other writings. And I think that's true of a lot of other people. We all spend so much time focusing on the traditional interview, and we have neglected to talk about the second interview, which is really a different process than the first one. After all, at the first meeting, you've done something that causes them to be interested in you. But the second one has a different focus. So let me just simply define what a second interview is not. And let's say you went to a firm's offices and met with HR, and a day or two passed and you were invited back for another interview. And I know that's exciting, but that next meeting to me is not a second interview. To me, no disrespect to human resources people. They have the capacity to reject you, but they don't have the capacity to hire you without the approval of someone else. So to me, just having spoken with HR, either by phone or in person, doesn't count as a second interview. To me, if you've gone through HR and you've also met with an individual or individuals from a hiring group or from the business unit that you be working for, that you've gone through some details in your background, not just a superficial chat, but you spend some time talking with them about your experience, and they've evaluated you and assessed you. That to me is completing the first interview. So the second interview really starts with the completion of that part, and then going on and speak to a manager or a second group of individuals at that organization. So what are they trying to find out about you at that meeting? Now, if you think about it, there's only a couple of possible reasons for the second meeting. Number one is you did well at the first one. Number two is you did okay, but they've got some lingering questions about you, and they want to look into it further. Third of all, you did great, and they want to see you a second time to confirm their impressions of you. So why would they want to do that? Easy. And I'm going to use dating as a metaphor, as I often use, and simply say that, have you ever gone out on a first date that was terrific and the second date was a dud? Well, it's the same thing in an interview as well. Sometimes you meet someone the first time and you love them, and then you invite them back on a second occasion and you talk with them and there's nothing there. Like maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe you learn something more about them based upon the questions you ask or the situation that you're in. But sometimes a firm just wants to confirm that their great impression is valid. And when you go into the interview, it's kind of hard to tell the difference because firms don't really let on what their thinking is. I'll give you one clue if they're really interested at the end of the second interview, and that